Amina Mohammed, Deputy Secretary General of the United Nations.
And they would like to say welcome if you're just joining us. President.
Ladies and gentlemen of the press, I'm pleased to welcome to Liberia Her Excellency Amina Mohammed, Deputy Secretary General of the United Nations, on the occasion of the end of the mission and exit of the United Nations mission in Liberia. As we are all aware, the UNMA has been with us for almost 15 years and now. Not only has this mission contributed immensely to the restoration of peace and stability in Liberia, it has positively impacted all aspects of our society and our daily lives. Today, the Deputy Secretary General has come to join us in celebration of the success of the great partnership between the people of Liberia and the United Nations, and to also honor the men and women who contributed to the success of this partnership since 2003. The Deputy Secretary General and our delegation arrived in Liberia last evening and have just concluded a fruitful discussion with me and some members of the cabinet and our permanent representative to the United Nations. During our discussion, I, on behalf of the government and people of Liberia, thank the Secretary General of the United Nations, the Security Council, all troops contributing countries as well as donor countries that provided sustained financial and other resources which made this mission possible. We also salute the gallant men and women of the Blue Helmet who came from far and near, some of whom paid the ultimate price for peace in Liberia. On behalf of the United Nations, Deputy Secretary General lauded the people of Liberia for the peaceful and orderly political transition and expressed the happiness of the United Nations for being a part of the transition. She also reconfirmed the continued engagement and support of the United Nations system to Liberia, especially in the implementation of our pro-poor development agenda. Once again, I wish to thank the United Nations for all of the support given Liberia since our return to democratic governance and for the partnership in rebuilding of our shelter institution. Madam Deputy Secretary General, as UNMA leaves Liberia peaceful, let me again reassure you of my government folious commitment to the continued consolidation of peace in Liberia and warmly welcome the continued partnership and commitment of the United Nations system. Madam Deputy Secretary General, Liberia is your home. Please enjoy your stay. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, Mr. President. On behalf of the Secretary General, Antonio Guterres, and the United Nations, I'm really pleased to be here. I want to deeply appreciate the warm welcome that we had since yesterday and the very constructive discussions that we've held with you, but also with members of civil society, young people, and parliamentarians. Today is a very special moment in which we begin that journey to, again, the conclusion of what we would say is a UN mission in Liberia, another successful peacekeeping mission coming to its close in West Africa. We take a little journey in history. It was deployed in 2003 to what was considered a failed state, with state institutions in ruins, non-existent economy, and the disintegrated national police and army. This as a result of a conflict where more than 250,000 Liberians were killed, nearly a third of the population was displaced, an estimated 80% of women and girls experiencing conflict-related sexual violence. Over these years, the state has been rebuilt, and more than 100,000 former combatants participated in disarmament, demobilization, and reintegration programs. I'm very happy to know that you also participated in that, and therefore the integrity with which they still stand is intact. We know that justice and security institutions, the police, the courts, the corrections, have been restored. The security and stability UNMIL has provided has enabled hundreds of thousands of refugees and displaced persons return to their homes as they should. Schools, some of which were closed for a decade, and therefore many young people lost the opportunity of an education, have been reopened, and children are able to leave the battlefield and go to school. UNMIL and the entire UN system aided the leadership in Liberia in overcoming the Ebola outbreak. We've had 3 peaceful elections that were held. The first 2 resulted in victories for President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, the first woman in Africa to be elected a president. And following your victory, and we congratulate you again in 2017, we know that that succession was the first peaceful transfer of power in Liberia since 1944. Congratulations, sir. UNMIL has also worked to empower women throughout the country. Through far more work remains to be done to ensure that women have their rightful place, and especially our young girls reach their full potential. We know that today Liberians enjoy peace, and UNMIL leaves behind a country that has great potential to achieve lasting stability, deepening its democracy and prosperity. We believe it's now under your leadership and up to the government, with the full support of the United Nations and other international partners, to continue to address the issues of poverty, youth unemployment, illiteracy, and the lack of basic infrastructure that connects your capital to the rest of the counties and therefore makes a whole of development for Liberia. Sustaining the international community's investment in Liberia beyond the deployment of UNMIL will require continued support by donors and partners. UNMIL's experience shows that value for money peacekeeping provides and offers a wealth of lessons of current and future operations. We would like to commend all the troops, the police, and the contributing countries who have participated in UNMIL and Liberia's peace consolidation. I would also like to pay tribute to the 202 personnel who lost their lives in the service of peace in Liberia, and to those who remain behind, their families. UNMIL is leaving, but let me just say, 17 UN funds and agencies will remain in Liberia to focus on sustainable development and improving the lives of Liberian people, thus achieving your aspirations and your commitment to your people as you took the election. We will continue to support government towards sustainable peace and development. I'm very happy now to take any questions that you want. Thank you.
So we will now open the floor to questions. Our first question will come from the ELB.
All right. Madam Deputy Secretary, my name is Ibrahim Malaye from the Liberia Broadcasting System, ELBC. Well, my question is, what will be the role of the UN in Liberia following this event? And then what are those experiences that you are taking back to New York that can be replicated to other countries? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for those 2 important questions. Well, certainly what happens the day after tomorrow is that we continue to support that transition to sustainable development. And we are behind the proposals that the government will put in place with their National Development Plan. These have key elements that are framed within the 2030 agenda, that is the Sustainable Development Goals, but more importantly, the agenda even in the continent for 2063. Liberia has had a leadership role in that, so it's very clear to us that what we would like to do is sustain the gains of peace. That means jobs for our young people. It means creating the infrastructure and the environment, the governance, the institutions that will sustain that. So we're here for the long run, but it will be behind that leadership that the government has already begun to display. Lessons learned, you said? Lessons learned have been many. I mean, the partnership that we have with Liberia has been critical to its success. The leadership that we had here in the United Nations had the right profile in order to support that. That's something that we take away to other countries that we will be looking at through the lens of sustaining peace.
We'll take the next question from BBC.
Thank you very much. Buenos dias, G. Mr. President, thank you for the opportunity. Just one question for the two of you. I was in Monrovia on the 1st of October 2003 when the United Nations took over. And even on that day, there was some street battle in the capital, so we are happy to see that we've come so far with the peace. But we are coming to Liberia just at the time of a serious debate as to whether this peace can exist without justice, or whether the United Nations can help Liberia to achieve justice that should exist side by side with peace. And specifically, people are asking for those who stand accused of committing atrocities in Liberia during the war to face their victims in a court like you did for Sierra Leone. So is the United Nations ready to help Liberia achieve this? And Mr. President, talking about that, Human Rights Watch has asked you to create an environment so that victims can meet face-to-face with their perpetrators. Are you prepared to do that as soon? Thank you.
Well, I think we have to follow the rule of law. We're not trying to undo what is already there. I think we had a history of this reconciliation, and the court already has on this that those perpetrators need to come back to the status quo so they can face those who are that harm them. And but what I want to say is that there are a lot of things we incur, and we have to step by step follow the rule of law. The Peace and Reconciliation body already have a case, and those who are victim has their rights also to listen to those that victimize them. So it's a process. Peace is not just one day thing. If you can recall, I always use it as an example when I was advocating for human rights in the country. You were one person that was against me. But I always reminded you, because what I was doing at that time is for us not to reach to this point where Liberians are against each other. And I'm glad that you're here today. This is the time now we have to make sure that we create that environment and create awareness that Liberians will find reason to forgive each other so we can move on. And I hope that those who are responsible, the ministry that are responsible, which is the Justice Ministry and the Peace and Reconciliation Committee, will come back on the table and call all of the actors to again look at what is there to make sure that either we forget and justice be done to those who are justice need to be done to.
Thank you. Let me just say that Mr. President has already committed to concluding what would be unfinished business. Sustaining peace is about justice, it's about strong institutions, it's about governance, it's about continuing the work of the national reconciliation, it's also about your constitution. but it is also a collective responsibility. The President would not do this by himself, and so it requires the Liberian people to get behind him with the intentions that he has of bringing justice, of reconciling, of helping build a nation now that you have an environment for peace. The Peace Building Commission that we have in the United Nations, we have our representatives here, very happy to see our permanent representative from Sweden. It's an important part of our contribution to helping you to create that environment for ensuring that justice is done. It must be inclusive. People must feel part of rebuilding a new Liberia, and I believe that the leadership here has that commitment, and we're here to support it. Thank you.
So you're saying that the UN is not prepared to support the war crime court in Liberia?
The UN is prepared to?
Are you saying that the United Nations is not prepared to support the war crime court in Liberia?
No, what I'm saying is that the UN is prepared to help build the bridges that will sustain peace, and that we know our support for the national reconciliation, for constitutional reforms, is what we're prepared to support.
Okay. Next question from Data Observer, followed by Radio Deutsche Welle.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Madam Deputy Secretary General, for your presence here. We highly appreciate it, and we are grateful that Liberia has reached thus far. My question is, the lack of adherence to the rule of law is one of many reasons for which Liberia had the 15 years of unfortunate civil crisis. And although it is used excessively, but eventually that it is because of that that the UN came into the country. And as we are about to leave, we are gradually experiencing some symptoms of the violation of the rule of law, with the case of the LATI and other instances. What pieces of advice do you have for the new administration and then to the President? Are you ready to rescind your decision about your selection at your appointment at the LATI, or why do you stand?
Well, I think just the other day in January you gave me a title, the Commander-in-Chief. So everyone works at the will and pleasure of the President, and the President decides who is capable. I'm not breaking laws. I'm making appointments. Those names that I'm putting forward, I believe that they can run this country. And I didn't break any law. So you go back to your constitution, you can read those guidelines, and you'll see that the President is not breaking any law. So we will continue to nominate, to appoint people, because that's the right thing to do. We have to constitute a government. It's slow because of some of the issues. Every Liberian that you call for has a problem. Nobody here with no problem. So we have to continue to look at the laws. I have not broken any law in this country, and I think they have their own rules. We have a constitution that we have to make sure we abide by the Constitution. And now everything I'm doing is in the confines of the Constitution. Thank you.
Next question from Amina Radio. And that will be the last question.
Welcome, Madam Deputy Secretary General, and good morning, Mr. President. My question is to the Deputy Secretary General of the United Nations. My name is Hilary Justin Kono, and I work for Omni Radio. With a free, fair, and transparent election, I led to the ascendancy of Ambassador George Weah as President of Liberia, with the massive support he has from the Liberian people. What are some of the contributions the United Nations is contemplating on making sure that his government agenda, the pro-poor government agenda, becomes a reality?
Thank you very much, Alma. Well, the first, of course, is to see the transition of a radio station that was very effective in communicating and looking at keeping the tensions down and ensuring that there was a successful election. So we're proud of that contribution. We're even prouder that that voice will be handed over to another voice, and so it will not close with the mission. It will continue. Support for President Weah is behind his agenda. He has already signaled that the rule of law, governance are very important infrastructure to allow sustaining peace happen in a much more deeper way than it has, to deepen democracy, to ensure that people are not left behind, that the sustainable development goals can be achieved in the life of everyone, that there is a focus on young people, but that he's putting a team together and leading by example. So I think these are things that we have always looked for as the United Nations. Where is the leadership? How can we get behind that? Because they work towards the core values and the beliefs that we have for sustainable development. There will always be a transition and many concerns as we leave one part of our mission and the government takes over. We have to strengthen governments. We have to strengthen institutions. And that's where we hope we will be. The Peace Building Commission will be some of the support that we will give for that bridge in the transitions. But more importantly, making an environment that is conducive for investors to come into Liberia, having that opportunity to speak to the international community and to ensure that they see the value and the opportunities for investments. But again, the environment has to be conducive, and we're part of supporting that happen.
Thank you. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen of the press. Please bring an end to this press stakeout.
Thank you.